Good day, everyone. I am Glendy Durango Castro, a BTL-Ed HE student. Today, my groupmate and I will be discussing about the core issues in human development. But before we begin, let us first define the terms human development for us to be more acquainted what will be the center of today's topic. Human development is a process of enlarging the range of people's choices, increasing their opportunities for education, healthcare, income and empowerment, and covering a full range of human choices from a sound physical environment to economic, social, and political freedom. Enlarging the range of people's choices is the most significant aspect of human development. People's choices may involve a host of other issues, but living a long and healthy life, to be educated, and have access to resources needed for a decent standard of living, including political freedom, guaranteed human rights, and personal self respect, are considered some of the non negotiable aspects of human development. Now, what are the possible core or major issues when a human undergoes the process of development? There are four core issues on human development, namely nature versus nurture, early experience versus later experience, continuity versus discontinuity, and abnormal behavior versus differences. Now, let us first tackle the first issue, nature versus nurture. Nature, in human development sense, refers to all the genes and hereditary factors that influence who we are. Examples of these are our physical appearance and our personality characteristics. On the other hand, nurture refers to all the environmental variables that impact who we are. This includes our early childhood experiences, how we are raised, our social relationship, and our surrounding culture. The nature versus nurture debate is one of the oldest issues in psychology. In fact, some philosophers, such as Plato and Descartes, in support with the nature issue, suggested that certain things are inborn or that they occur naturally regardless of environmental influences. Nativists take the position that all or most behaviors and characteristics are the result of inheritance. On the other hand, in support with the nurture side, well-known thinkers such as John Locke believed in what known as tabula rasa, which suggests that the mind begins as a blank slate, and everything that we are and all of our knowledge is determined by our experience. Empiricists take the position that all or most behaviors and characteristics result from learning. Further, theorists such as John B. Watson believe that people could be trained to do and become anything regardless of their genetic background. Even today, different branches of psychology often take a one versus the other approach. For example, biological psychology tends to stress the importance of genetic and biological influence. Behaviorism, on the other hand, focuses on the impact that the environment has on behavior. Fortunately, today, most experts recognize that both factors play a critical role. Not only that, they also realize that both nature and nurture interact in important ways all throughout life. Now, let's move on to the second issue, the early experiences versus later experiences. Basically, the early experiences are the experiences that occurred in early childhood, while the later experiences are the experiences that occurred later in life. Are we more affected by events that occur in early childhood, or do later events play an equally important role? In support with the early experiences side, Psychoanalytic theories tend to focus on events that occur in early childhood. According to Freud, much of a child's personality is completely established by the age of 5. If this is indeed the case, those who have experienced deprived or abusive childhoods might never adjust or develop normally. On the other hand, in support to the later experiences side, researchers have found that the influence of childhood events does not necessarily have a dominating effect over behavior throughout life. However, there is evidence that childhood adversity may correlate the greater levels of stress in adulthood. Besides, many people with unfortunate childhoods go on to develop normally into well adjusted adults. Now, my groupmate will explain the two issues on human development. That's all for my part. Thank you.
Good day, ma'am. I am Lovely Jane D. Borges from BT-led HE1B. When considering skill development or personality characteristics over time, you can think of continuity as consistency and discontinuity as change. Let's look at an example of continuous and discontinuous development. Some aspects of the development of living organisms, such as a maple tree growing steadily in height and cross-sectional area, involve quantitative changes, just as some theories of human development, the changes are simply a matter of quantity. As children grow in height, they also tend to display more of certain skills as they grow older. Developmental theories that support this continuity outline a series of sequential stages in which skills emerge at certain points of development. These relatively sudden qualitative changes are comparable to a life cycle of a ladybug. Following longer periods of slow gradual change, the ladybug transitions through rapid discontinuous changes, becoming a totally different type of entity. What is the difference between continuity versus discontinuity? The continuity view says that the change is gradual. Children become more skillful in thinking, talking, or acting much the same way as they get taller. The discontinuity view sees development as more abrupt succession of changes that produce different behaviors in different age-specific life periods that called stages. Abnormal behavior versus differences. Rather than the distinction between normal and abnormal, psychologists in this field focus on the level of distress that behaviors, thoughts, or emotions might cause. If a behavior is creating problems in a person's life or disruptive to other people, then this would be an abnormal behavior. The word abnormal with the prefix ab means away from normal. How do we differentiate between normal and abnormal behavior? Normal is used to describe individual behavior that conforms to the most common behavior in the society, also known as conformity. However, normal behavior is often only recognized in contrast to abnormality. In its simplest form, normality is seen as good, while abnormality is seen as bad. How do we identify abnormal behavior? Abnormal behavior is any behavior that deviates from what is considered normal. There are four general criteria that psychologists use to identify abnormal behavior, which are violation of social norms, statistical rarity, personal distress, and maladaptive behavior. One simple way to remember the criteria in defining psychological disorder are the 4 Ds, which are dysfunction, deviance, distress, and danger. Deviance refer to a rule-breaking behavior. Dysfunction, defined as abnormal or impaired functioning on the part of an individual person. Distress, a behavior causes anxiety, bad feelings, or other negative feelings for either the person or other who come in contact with them. Danger, are dangerous or violent behavior to the person or people around them.
Genetic or inherited causes include chromosomal defects caused by too few or too many chromosomes, or problems in the structure of the chromosomes, such as Down syndrome and extra copy of chromosome 21, and sex chromosome abnormalities. Single gene defects, a mutation in one gene causes the defect. Change in person's thinking process, memory, perception, and judgment. Work efficacy will be reduced, forgetfulness, unhappiness, anxious disturbance in daily routine activities. No respect will be given to others or self, lack of satisfaction, lack of self-confidence, emotional instability, personality disorganization, and limited capacity for self-management.